Almost. Yeah, I am. Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. Time got away from me there. I do apologize. It is Saturday night, Power of One with Eileen Colts. What is
Hey,
up,
everybody.
Eileen?
Oh, not much. We were just talking about, is the full moon tonight or tomorrow night?
Yeah, and
we
I
don't
went
really
to,
follow it that
yeah, I
close.
went to Google it and real fast, and then I ran out of time. So let's see when it is here.
I have a crystal bowls meditation tomorrow night in the Himalayan salt cave for full moon. So it's either tonight or tomorrow night.
Oh, I think you're right. Let's see. Yeah, February 9th.
Okay, there we
Oh,
go.
at 2:33 a.m. So yeah, we're really close. So when I looked at the
Right
moon
in
tonight, and I
between.
was like, wow, that looks really full.
It's
We're
looking
just a
full.
few hours away, really. But yeah, it's for our European viewers.
Cool
They're
beans.
already, it's today for them. So we weren't too far off. Want to shout out to the Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio folks, Alan and Sandra. I was on with them for a couple hours today, just a little bit ago.
How'd it
You know,
go?
Oh, it went awesome. It always goes awesome with them. It's like hanging out with family and just chatting, you know?
They're so cool. I was out and about, mostly out driving in and out of places, post offices, stores, things like that. So I didn't get to hear it this time, but I know you'll upload it so then I will get to hear it, right?
Well, they were talking about, somebody in the chat was talking about stars disappearing. I don't know if you've heard anything like that.
In my life, I've lost 2/3 of them. So I'm not like by new big cities that have an excuse for blocking out my night sky.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, and the ones on these sides of me for the whole horizon are gone. It just means I can't see them. And the only thing I can see is a strip straight above my head. And then everything to the left and everything to the right, except for maybe Venus or Jupiter, gone.
So where the atmosphere is the thinnest. That's how it is here, too.
Yeah.
That's why Venus looks so brilliant, because you can't really see much of anything. So I can usually see Orion, and I can see Sirius pretty good. It's
Big
nice and bright.
Spur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can see what's directly above my head, and that's it. And I'm not near. I'm like just north of the Everglades by 10 miles, and I'm not near any big cities. You have to drive like 45 minutes to get to a small city. So that's not a good excuse for the sky, the stars being blotted out.
Right. So this was specifically, maybe they can, what did they say? 100, 5 or 100? I don't know why I've got those two numbers in my head. There was a lot of 5s in the show today. So.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so these were, and it wasn't a Mandela effect. It's not like they just never existed. These were stars that have disappeared, and scientists don't know what the heck happened to them. They didn't go supernova or flash out or do anything like that. They've just disappeared. And I made a joke that maybe some craft have parked in front of it and they're blocking our view, right?
Absolutely. Or, stations.
Right.
Stations for multi-crafts. Yeah. Wouldn't that
they're
be...
saying over 100 is what they're saying.
What?
Yeah. Over 100
How
stars.
Interesting. Well, that would also give you the conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat wearing people like us, for why they're blotting out the stars, so that we can't see stars are disappearing and there's other things blocking them. So that would fit if you want to go that far.
You could even go further, and if you want to pair up with our flat Earth friends, maybe a bulb blew out on the dome. No, I'm just saying,
absolutely. I'm just laughing because we can go further and further and further, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh. And the thing is, we'll never know, will we? Maybe we will know, maybe we won't know. I wouldn't wait and hold my breath for anybody to tell us, right?
Yeah.
How
interesting.
interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I do like Suspicious Observers.
Yeah, I watch them too. Sometimes I do a little fear porny stuff, but I do like them.
Yeah, I do appreciate their
work.
that they do. Yeah. So Ben Davidson from Suspicious talked about it. They said so. I'll have to go check that out because I don't watch them religiously or anything, but
I watch them once in a while.
Yeah, every time because they're the ones that have something every morning, aren't they?
I used to watch them every weekend, so maybe they do something every morning. Maybe they do, yeah, the sun. They do a sun report every morning, don't they?
I
Every
thought
morning.
so.
Yeah,
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 with photos of our started clothes or whatever, and then
yeah,
wasn't that
yeah. I think it's
suspicious?
about the
Yeah,
sun. Solar weather every morning. Like, are we
yeah.
getting a lot of magnetism, or, a few flares?
There's a lot of great channels out there that I don't, I used to watch, but the more I get busy, the more I tend to not get around to everybody, and the more subscriptions I have, the easier it is to miss great channels and
Me
stuff.
too.
And
And missing our community channels too, because I try to listen to everybody who subscribes to me. I'm small. I subscribe back to them. And then if they post something, I try to get in and give it a look. But I'm working more now. And since I'm working more now, I have less YouTube time.
yeah,
This work thing is really cutting into my YouTube time. I think we need to figure this out, priorities.
yeah, more and more I'm finding myself, I'll click on a video that's interesting to me, and I'll just have it running, and then I'm hearing the music, waiting for the voice or the voiceover to come in, and then I look and the text is on the screen. I'm like, oh, no, I need to hear it. I can't sit and watch it,
No, you can't sit and watch it. You got to listen. So I'm
Yeah,
always lurking a lot. And I'm playing everything at 2 times now. I started out at 1.5, then I adjusted to 1.75, and now I can clearly understand 2.0, unless it's the British guy from Ancient Architects. And he talks so fast, it's almost like light language. You got to slow him down a little.
yeah. There is some that's just a little too fast because they all already speak pretty fast, and then there's some that's really deep, like Magenta Pixies stuff is so deep you have to
You got to
take
slow
it
it down
slow.
to take it in a little slower. And when you go from 2.0 speed to regular speed, doesn't it sound like they're in slow mo?
It
Like there's
does, and
something
I've done that.
wong?
Did I accidentally put it on 3/4 or a half? What's going
It's like
on?
wah wah wah. That's normal speech.
That is crazy how you get used to it.
Well, I just think we need to keep blessing the trails and all that stuff up there. Just keep blessing it and blessing it and blessing it and transmuting it for our highest good. And who knows? Maybe it is for our highest good already, and we just don't know that.
Yeah, that's
You
what Mike
know?
from My Skies
Yeah,
5D talks
yeah,
about. And who
definitely.
am I to say he's wrong? He could totally be right.
It could be totally for our highest good. I'm kind of on board with Mike with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And even if it isn't initially for our highest good, we have the power to change it. That's what this show is
Exactly.
really all about. It's
Exactly.
how much control we actually have.
I've only gotten through the first part. I still have to get through. Was Feisty Kitty on the love stream? Not yesterday, but the Friday before?
Yes.
Okay, Feisty, I got to get to your part. I've gotten 3/4 of the way through that. And then tomorrow morning, I have to finish that and get past Todd. I listened to the Todd section from last night with this morning's coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really, that was so much fun, looking at the spirituality of math.
Yeah, that was really cool, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
I got a lot of synchronicities with what Todd was talking about, with Jesus saying the Mandela effect with that scripture,
Yeah, I
where
do.
two or three is now how it reads, but where two or more are
Two or
gathered in my
more.
name
That's how
is
I
how
know it.
that's how I know it too.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense with two or three, because what's wrong with four or five? I
Or
mean,
six or seven.
yeah, is he not going to show up if you
4,000.
have more? If you have two,
Exactly.
three, I'll be there. Four or five is just the crowd, guys. I'm not coming.
Sometimes I feel like Mandela effects are just shifting matter. Sometimes I don't get a spiritual message from them, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. But maybe somebody else will. Somebody else will see that and totally get something from that.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know?
just haven't delved too deep into that one to try to find
No.
something. But just as after Todd presented what he did last night, I thought, well, maybe it's just to get our attention about what Todd's talking about here. For
Todd's usually
those,
lurking in here. Hi, Todd. Thanks for that.
yeah,
Also, he made me think of the Trinity. And that
yeah,
ties in with your two or three gathered in my name. The Trinity originally, going past, the current religious dogma, at least
hmm
2 to 5,000 years, was male, female makes a third force, which is the birth of a child. So if you put a male and a female together, you have the creation principle of
hmm
creating the third part, which could be male or female, and
hmm
so on. Then you put a male and female together, and then they create the third. So that whole Trinity thing, and the number three, and then the Mandela effect of Jesus changing the saying from where one or more are gathered to what is it? We're 1 to
When
3.
we're 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's kind of a Trinity sign. It's kind of going triangle, Trinity.
Yeah, Moneybags is saying 4 or 5 is just the crowd.
Hey, money bags.
That's funny.
Thanks for popping in.
So yeah, that's so I think that's an interesting thing that because the whole power of one that we talk about
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
together or apart we're individuals, and there might be, what do we have, 57 in here right now, there might be 57 individuals, but then we create an entity as a whole,
Yes,
as
we
a
do.
group. And
We do.
Lynn McTaggart actually talks about
Which
this
is
in
a
her book.
new powerful entity. It's in
Yeah,
fact it's more powerful than its parts. You break it all up
exactly,
again and that's a lot weaker than the power of, 50, 60 people coming together with the same intention.
because it's got an exponential effect to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was listening to somebody today, and Todd would have liked this, about the craziness of doubling. Clee Irwin was talking about how when you start doubling things, the math gets really wacky. So if getting two people together, more than doubles the power of two separate minds, and then you do that times 5, 10, 1,000, 50,000, you can imagine that part in the Bible where it says, I think it's Matthew, says you can say to that mountain, move, and the mountain will move.
Hmm.
Even if you have the faith as small as was that the mustard seed one, or is that was another one?
Yeah, the mustard seed.
If you have the faith as small as a mustard seed, if you say move to the mountain, it will move.
Yeah. And when I did the math before, I was like, because with the doubling effect, somebody said if somebody gave you $1 and then doubled the amount every day for a month, or offered you $1 million, which one would you take? And it turns out that doubling the dollar, you
Is
end up with more
way
money.
more, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Way
So
more than $1 million.
so I did that with people in our intention, and I was like, how many people would you need to get together if you have this doubling effect to cover all of the people on the planet? And it was like 32 or something like that. If you can get 32 people in one accord, you have enough people there to cover the intention of every single person on the planet.
Well, that's so small. It's
Yeah,
even
it is.
smaller than the saying that you need just over 7%, which I think came from the 100th monkey, where if you teach a group of monkey a skill, once 7% practice it, it goes into the next generation as an auto skill. You're just born with it.
Right. And that
So,
was on separate islands and stuff.
and separate islands, it
So it
spreads
wasn't like they
species.
learned it and saw it
Nope.
learned it from seeing it. It was like it just
It
went
goes
into
into the
their collective.
DNA. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another interesting little tidbit, guys. I was listening to a scientist who defined what quantum means. I've never looked it up, but I love quantum science because I think it means small, like going down to the wave instead of stopping at the particle, right?
Right.
No, it means packet of information. It's a quanta
Yeah.
of
A quanta.
information, which means it's not alone. It comes as a packet. What
Hmm.
the heck does that mean? If the quantum world is delivered to us in packages of information,
Yeah, and we typically think of that as downloads. I got a quanta.
I got a
you
quanta.
know?
I am quantum. We are quantum, and I am quanta. So I'm a quantum part, but that would mean I'm a packaged part.
Right.
Again, it would take you away from the one
Oh,
and
that's
into
quanta
unity.
would be the multiple. Yeah, quantum would be the singular. I always get those two
But there
backwards.
is no singular because quanta means a packet of information. It's already plural.
Oh, okay.
So how weird is that?
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, it is.
So that really goes to show, though, that with this doubling effect, what we do here. I mean, we've even wondered if we started the mudslides when we asked for the rain and we
Yeah,
put our
but when we
intentions in
downpoured
them.
rain with other people, we weren't alone. Remember, our
Yeah,
group joined with other groups, and they just got mudslides the next morning because they got hit with so much rain.
yeah,
And then, of course, we thought the same thing too, where I'm not laughing, but we thought, did we stop that hurricane over the Bahamas by pushing it away from land and it's forcing its way towards land? So we got a stalemate. But then a lot of people in the chat that night said it's intention that counts. So if your intention was to push it off of land to preserve life and prevent damage, then no, we wouldn't be stopping it over a single island for 24 hours, would
it's
we?
not so sort of a tug of war anymore, like we're
Yeah.
imagining it.
So they're kind of saying that if your intention is pure, you can't cause a negative to happen, which is kind of interesting. I kind of buy that.
Yeah.
What about you? Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and I think we can actually just jump into a timeline where the thing that disappears even. And I think we're looking into getting that powerful. How good can it get? Like Cynthia C. Larson
Cynthia,
said.
how good can it get?
Yeah.
Speaking of what you just said, Ancient Architects has another video out. I don't know if it's the one from today or yesterday. He did a little more research and he found drawings of the Giza Plateau pyramids. Remember, we were talking about them last week of having
Mm-hmm.
four big pyramids,
Right.
and one was taken down in 1790 to build a temple for some people emanating from Scotland. Well, this explorer, I think from Turkey or something, I could be wrong, but he had one of those, things on, and he drew five pyramids in 1730s on the Giza Plateau with the three little ones in front. Like you always say, is it one of the little ones?
Yeah.
So when I see historical evidence, and he had no reason to throw an extra pyramid or two in there. He was
Right.
drawing what he saw, putting it in a book that then became historical record for his country's history. He
And
sent
how
it
far
back
back was
home,
that?
1730s.
Okay, well, check this out. In one of the sessions I've recently had with someone, which I think it's one that I'm going to be able to release, so it's a little taste of it. But they saw multiple pyramids. Like, I mean, way more. Like, pyramids were everywhere. Like, it wasn't just four or five, they were just literally all over the place.
Well, according to Ancient Architects, last week's, I brought we showed some pictures from that
Right.
video, and I hope people went to his channel and, watched it because he's fascinating. He always looks for what people are not reporting. He said there were 16 pyramids reported at Giza, 16, but
Oh, cool.
only.
Sarah's in here. It was in her session, and that is the one we're going to release.
Oh, hey, Sarah. Are you going to play that like next Friday or something? Is that going to be one?
I've got to just trim it up and do a little work. I'm just going to upload it as a separate thing, not during the show.
Okay, not during the
Yeah,
love stream.
it'd be a good regular show. Or it'd be a good standalone video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, he said 16 were reported in the 1740s and 1750s. So, okay, here's my tinfoil hat going on again, which I proudly wear often. It doesn't mean I believe what I'm saying, but I'm saying it is possible.
It's
If
nice to
they,
consider it. Yeah.
it's to consider. If they know that a Scottish religious sect came to Egypt in 1790, dismantled one of the four remaining big pyramids to take somewhere to build their temple, why wouldn't a lot of other religious sects or related ones come and remove the 16 pyramids, of which this photograph, not a photograph, this pencil line drawing he shows from the 1730s shows five big pyramids on the Giza Plateau. And we're left only with three now. Why wouldn't they consider that like, ancient, powerful rock material in which to dismantle and go build your temple somewhere to empower your group?
Yeah.
I'm not
Totally.
saying they did, but they do know that one was taken down by a Scottish religious group in 1790. So if one was removed, why not more?
The other thing is they unearth these things all the time where they just have no idea there's one there, and then all of a sudden they dig it up. Now, wasn't the Sphinx like what?
Buried up to the neck.
Yeah. So I
Even
mean,
when
think about
Napoleon was
that.
there and was supposedly, it's not true, they say now, that Napoleon shot off the Sphinx's nose for target practice. They say that was just, one of those tales that grows over time. But that Sphinx had sand up to its neck at that point. And what about Gobekli Tempe?
Tepe. Yeah.
Gobekli
That
Tempe?
Tepe. Tepe.
Tepe? Somebody can say
Something
that
like
better than me. Ronnie, how do you say it?
that.
Just my encyclopedia. I mean,
But
that was
yeah.
completely buried. And they think it was buried on purpose, that the people who lived there 12,000 years ago left. And before they left, because it was kind of a temple like structure in Turkey, they buried it with the sand on purpose.
Let's see. Alan and Sandra are saying each person has contact with, on average, 100 people a day. What is their purpose? They still carry keys and codes that we integrate and download into our energy field.
Good
I do.
point. Hey, Alan and Sandra, you guys are saying that even without trying to spread our light
Yeah.
around, we're just doing it. We're just impacting people's reality just by being present.
Yeah. That's actually what I think T. Taylor was saying last night. Was that T. Taylor? Yeah, just getting out there and people walking through your trail of energy and it affecting them. And I mean, think about it. How many times have you walked in a room and you don't know what was happening in there, but you can feel the tension in the air? Like, you guys were
Yes,
fighting or
and they
something?
can they can measure. Remember, we were talking about that on one of our spirit ghost shows, that they can actually go in and measure the electromagnetivity of a church, and it'll be higher than it is, away from the church. That
Right.
the and Cynthia went there in her Quantum Jumps book. She said the more you meditate or pray in the same place, the more you change the energy of that spot, and it becomes more conductive to metaphysical experiences and magnifying your intentions.
Isn't that interesting? And
Isn't
then
that interesting?
once you take away the time factor, you can see why it would continually grow. You can even see why places like I don't know, just any site that people consider
Sacred.
sacred and they go there and they meditate because of it, even if it wasn't originally an energy center, they're making it and creating it into an energy center, aren't
They
they?
are. Even the negatives who went and did, like, chopping people's heads off on top of a pyramid in the Mayan temples, the Mayan pyramids, that
Yeah,
would create the same kind of powerful energy source, but in a negative way. But when you go and measure it, it just shows increased magnetic energy. It doesn't say bad increased energy versus good increased energy.
interesting.
Yeah. So it almost goes back to, you can tap into this energy field, and you can either use it for good or you can use it for bad, but it's pure energy. Like, remember we were talking about money. You
Yeah,
don't have to feel ashamed about making money, because you can use it for good. You can, as well as people using it for evils. It's just energy.
yeah. And anything's like that, really. Think of the internet,
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
you know?
Use it
It's
for
pretty.
good and use it for bad.
TV, I mean, it goes across the whole spectrum, doesn't it?
Well, that goes back into the religious, those golden threads that we look for that run through all religions. And that's the idea that the beast 666 is the human, because of the carbon 12, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons. Therefore, the devil is in you and God is in you. And it's completely up to you what you're going to use. Are you going to let the devil out? Or are you going to let God out? It's like really personalizing it.
It's like growing up watching these cartoons where you got the devil and the angel on the shoulder. I mean, it really is like that, isn't
It
it?
really is like that. Every single moment we have this choice, this free will.
Yeah, that's why I think there's this push to, look for the Messiah out somewhere to return somewhere, and Jesus said, if somebody says go look in this inner room, go look in the desert, go look here and there, don't believe them.
But
The
I
kingdom of God
wonder
is
if Jesus
within.
said, that is within you, go within, look within you, and that's
Yeah,
where I am. So that's in the scripture too. Or is
that's
that in
where
the
I am. I love that double
is that from the
entendre.
Gnostic gospels that were thrown
Mm,
out? Because we've read all of those as well. So
I,
I tend to mix up.
yeah, I think it's in the regular Bible too. The canonized Bible, I
Look
should say.
within, and there I am.
Yeah, the kingdom of God is within.
And that's
And
so true.
it's the same way with, how many times does a new president come in, and people are like, that's the Antichrist. I mean, you can pretty much look back at, since the internet was built, and every single president, somebody's made a case for him being, excuse me, the Antichrist,
Yeah,
But really,
especially
is the
now.
Antichrist out
Sorry,
there?
I'm not a
Or,
fan, and I'm not a non-fan. I'm just being honest. They really give Trump a hard time with that stuff.
yeah, but they did it with Obama. They do it to every Bush. I mean, pretty much whoever's in office, there's somebody out there pushing that he's the Antichrist.
Well, the
But
Antichrist is within, along with the Christ, and
yeah,
it's a personal choice of which choose to either experience or project. Hi, guys. I
yeah, but
told
as
them
long as
not
you're
to walk
looking
in while we're
out,
meditating.
if as long as you're looking outwardly for something, then you're not going to realize it's right here with you the whole time. You choose, you choose to what you're going to listen to. And when I was talking about being conscious of the thoughts, and that's the dialogue that's going on in your head, and realizing that you aren't the dialogue, you aren't the one talking, you're the one observing the talking. Then you sort of take a step back from that and realize that that's not me talking. I don't have to
Then
listen to
who
that.
is it? That's interesting, because
Yeah.
everybody calls it the ego. They all say that's the ego talking. Slay the ego, and you will be one with the universe and one with God. But then I'm like, wait a minute, we're born with ego. Ego came with this package. So how bad can it be? If God made the ego, then how bad is the ego? But I do see where our egos need to be tamed, and we need to overcome some
Yeah.
of the, egoic desires for, I don't know, for everything bad, basically.
Yeah. At least, I would say at least get it out of the driver's seat, right?
Yeah, get it out of the driver's seat and observe it. Actually, I think if you observe it, it suddenly starts to go away a little bit. Once you see something, it's like you're in control instead of
Yeah.
it being in control. Especially with anger. Like if something really ticks me off and pushes my buttons, I have to pause before reacting to see how I want to respond. Otherwise, I'll just react with the same intensity,
Yeah.
the same negativity as what I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's what helped me so much with the Law of One, talking about this very thing you're talking about,
Yeah.
because I believe it was that was talking about you have to sort of walk it back. So
Yeah,
for
Law
a
of One
person,
did, Eckhart Tolle did.
so you'll
There's a
get
few.
triggered. You'll get triggered. You'll act it out. A few minutes later, you'll regret your
You regret
actions.
what you said.
Right. So
Now
then
you're
you
apologizing.
so then you catch it a little earlier the next time, and then maybe you're halfway through a sentence and you're like, you stop yourself, and then you get it to where you feel it and you never let it leave your mouth, and then you get to the point now. If I get triggered now, I try to just take the deep breath and recenter myself,
And then
and
respond instead of react. But we're not saying bury your emotions, because that's very unhealthy for people who are afraid and they don't express their feelings. That's not good either. But it's just taking a moment to reflect so that you can respond a little bit better than reacting,
yeah,
you
or
know?
not respond. I mean, sometimes you're like, you know what? I don't even have to respond to this. That's their issue. It could be an issue that you don't need to be a part of.
Yeah, it is hard though. I mean, I gotta say, maybe we're just here to learn to tame our ego. Maybe that's like the first course here,
Oh yeah.
you know? Ego taming, send them to earth. They're so full of themselves down there,
Right.
right? I don't know.
But yeah, it's a fun journey, and it's like kind of getting beyond the idea of trying to just get to the next thing so much, because I got stuck there for a while myself too, Let's just get to the next thing. This sucks. But that's like being in school and you're like, oh, I just can't wait for the end of the day, and not doing your work.
It's
What, I'm
like,
not
don't
even going to
wish
do
your
my
life
work.
away. Enjoy the journey, even if it's tough.
Yeah.
Enjoy the parts of it that I don't know who taught this. Somebody famous, I'm sure, that you may not be able to control what other people do to you or say to you, but you can always control your reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a pretty powerful amount of control if you think of it.
But you're really giving that away when you don't do that. It's like, wow, you just gave them the ability to put you in a bad mood right now.
I heard that growing up. It's like, you made me mad. You made me drop that. You made me this. And I believe that. I believe people could make people mad and drop things and whatever just by triggering their emotions. But the fact of the matter is, it's the person who's in control of how they respond, how emotionally they
Yeah, but
react.
if you tick somebody off, don't tell them that doesn't work well. You're like,
In the
you
moment.
allowed me to make you mad.
Yeah. You made me drop that. Okay, sorry, I made you drop that because I made you mad. You made me stub my toe. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a funny thought.
It is
Okay,
a
so we need ideas in the chat for a
We do
topic tonight.
for a topic tonight for meditation, but in the meantime, do you remember you guys said, or Shane, because he's so generous, is going to let me read you guys
Yeah,
this.
hold it up again so we can see it.
So this is, so many of you guys have bought it and read it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm getting a lot of emails, and I'm just so glad that you like it and that it's. We don't know if it's working for them yet because they haven't reported back. So 40 Days and 40 Nights Manifestation Key. This is something that I wrote based on hearsay. It was a story passed on from person to person to person for decades. And then finally, I wrote it down in a book for everybody to read. And I'm just going to read you some cool bits.
That's actually how the Bible was written. That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's how the Quran was written.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when things aren't written down until much later. That means that they go through a lot of minds, though, and they get morphed and changed along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Shane really loved this part. So we thought we'd just share a few bits with you guys, not read you the whole book. It's only 111 pages, though. So chapter 1 is the mystical number 40. So the number 40, spelled Forty, was spelled Fourty until the 17th century. Like all numbers, it has special significance in numerology, where the sacred aspects of numbers are used to predict life-changing events, fortuitous times, personality traits, and one's life mission or destiny. I have a feeling a lot of people in our community know about numerology. So the number 40 is equivalent to the properties of the number 4. 4 plus 0 equals 4. So that's how you get down to the elemental properties in numerology. You just keep adding all the numbers in the line until you get down to a single digit, or an 11 or a 22, which are like sacred numbers. Mm-hmm. Christ is an 11, I think. So the number 4 in numerology is for planning, life planning, organization, dependability. It's for creating, implementing, executing, expanding something lasting, something important, encompassing the whole, all the details, the big picture, implementing projects, the take action number in business relationships, in life. It's hard but worthwhile. It's taking stock, important adjustments, affecting the whole, and startling growth. It also represents worldwide effects. So if you look at the number 2020, this is a 4-year. It's a big year. So the number 4 traits in a person, or like if you're going to look at the traits of the year ahead of you, are strong, loyal, grounded, down to earth. 4 is the number for building foundations, buildings, and doorways. 4 is common sense, to make firm, to strengthen. The number 4 provides the foundation for many earth cycles. The 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. The 4 phases or quarters of the moon. The 4 elements, like air, water, earth, and fire, even though many of us think that there's a 5th and a 6th element, like telepathy and ether. And the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. So all of these form the building blocks of matter in a here-now environment and are the very essence of form in the quantum world. No wonder the number 40, which always reduces to a 4 in numerology, is so significant. In terms of destiny in numerology, depending on the source, which book you read or which person, the number 40 symbolically represents the waiting, the preparation, the test, and the achievement of something in reaching for salvation, atonement, enlightenment, heaven, nirvana, Shambhala. In other words, one's highest possible state of being in the current life body, no matter where you live on earth and no matter what religion you follow. This could be interpreted as a kind of symbolic death of the ego, which we were just talking about tonight, and a spiritual rebirth. So the mysterious and ancient 4 pillars refer to the ancient Chinese fortune-telling system that was called the 4 pillars of destiny. And you may think there are only 2 pillars in the politically and financially powerful and not so secret Freemasonry, right, that governs our Western world or the world. And many of their buildings actually have the original 4 pillars, maybe because they trace their roots all the way back to ancient Egypt, where the 4 pillars of heaven were represented by a hieroglyph, and the 4 world pillars in ancient Egyptian mythology held up the heavens, plural, and also represented the 4 cardinal points, north, south, east, west. Hence, the pyramids form a perfect alliance with north, south, east, and west with their 4 sides. And most modern references include 4 pillars in Nepal. Those were the people who brought back their own ancient language that had been forgotten. In Moldova. Now that for me is like a Mandela Effect country in Eastern Europe I'd never heard of. I heard of Moldavite coming from, remember we talked about this, Moldavia, a part of the Czech Republic, but I didn't know there was a separate country called Moldova. There's also the 4 pillars of policy in the Australian government, which separate the 4 major banks. The four pillars of research under the Geneva Association, the four pillars of Dominican life, which represent the Dominican order, the four pillars of manufacturing in the United States with the American SME, the four pillars of green politics, their ecological wisdom, social justice, grassroots democracy, and nonviolence, and the four pillars of the All Japan Pro Wrestling Group. That's how it can go from incredibly spiritual to incredibly just practical. The
Hmm.
significance of the number 40 extends well beyond mysticism and pillars, representing iconic life phases and phrases. For instance, an average human pregnancy is 40 weeks. 40 below is the only temperature the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. Venus, which is followed by you know who, forms a perfect pentagram in the sky every 8 years, returning to its original point every 40 years, and has a 40-day regression period of moving in the opposite direction. British Grand National Racing allows 40 entrants. Life begins at 40. Many people like catching 40 winks. Western culture usually has a standard 40-hour work week. Freed slaves in America were offered 40 acres and a mule. Maritime quarantine is for 40 days since the bubonic plague. Ali Baba had 40 thieves. In Arabia, the Arabic proverb states, to understand a people, you must live among them for 40 days. Russian folklore says the spirit lingers for 40 days at the place of its death. In ancient times, 40 lashes with a whip was considered a standard punishment. Top songs were listed in the American Top 40. There are 40 rods in a furlong. There are 40 yards in a bolt of fabric. A rainbow can only be seen in the morning or late afternoon because the phenomenon can only happen when the sun is up to or below 40 degrees over the horizon. Conclusion, end of chapter 1, guys. 40 is a powerful number for, among other things, manifestation, growth, and change, but it really shines forth in all its glory in the Abrahamic religions of the ancient Middle East and the ancient nearby Near East. So that's chapter 2, which I'll do another night, and that's about the number 40 in religious texts.
Which should probably get into sort of how you touched on enlightenment within 40 days or death of the ego, which,
Yep,
maybe that's why Jesus went out to the wilderness,
for
or
40
the
days
four,
and 40 nights.
yeah, or the
And
40 years that the
Israelites
Israelites,
wandered in the desert, and
yeah.
Muhammad wrote the Quran for after fasting in a cave for 40 nights. And he had 40 followers to start the religion, Islam. He started with 40 followers.
Wow.
So 40, now 40 itself also meant a lifetime. It meant an epic. It meant an era. So at some point in the Middle East, if they didn't know the exact number, but it was like a generation, they'd say it happened for 40 years. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, the flood, right? But 40
Right.
years would be an entire generation. So I'm guessing that's because people live to about the age of 45.
Yeah, and the guy at the bookstore, he had mentioned something like that. Like, well, a lot of times the 40 can get translated back to a lot. So
A lot.
Jesus, yeah, a lot.
Isn't that
Which that gets
interesting?
into, yeah, that gets into a whole nother question. A lot to us means a whole bunch, right? Well,
And we don't consider a lot
a
means a whole
bunch,
bunch.
a lot.
We
I'm
don't
thinking,
consider
I'm trying.
40 a lot anymore, do we? Well, if
No,
I
but
said to
I
you
was
there were a lot of
thinking,
people there, wouldn't you think like over 100?
right? But I'm thinking of a lot as a word, like a lot, like a parking lot, like as a separate, a lot
A
of
group,
something,
a
a
group of
grouping,
something
a specific grouping. Like you said, there was 40 yards in a furlong, or like the word furlong,
is
or
40,
or a
40 yards,
bunch,
and a bolt of
or a
fabric.
bushel, or yeah, a bolt. Here's a ream. We've got these words that can also represent a number, right?
Absolutely. Like a
Yeah,
rod. A rod was used to measure in ancient Egypt, and it was not 12 inches. I know we got that 12 from Roman times, but it kind of harks back to Jesus and the 12 disciples, which is why the number 13 is so special, because that represents Jesus and his disciples. But not if you're not Christian,
right.
then you'll be looking for another reason why 13 is special.
That's right. Alan and Sandra had to go to the wilderness for 52 days, and they were like, why do we have to go for 52 days when Jesus only had to go for 40?
Absolutely. You guys stayed how many days too long? 12 days too long. But then you got the 12 tribes of Abraham and the
12's
12
another big one.
apostles. So maybe that's why you guys stayed at 12 extra days.
Yeah. And it's divisible by 4, which is the root base of this
Earth.
whole 40 system.
This whole Earth thing, north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
You know, left, right, up, down. You know, it keeps breaking down to the most basic. Of course, there's a lot in between, but the basic Earth number is 4.
Yeah.
We got 4, you know, we have 4 limbs.
Between.
We have 2 arms and 2 legs. That makes 4 limbs. Most animals, at least mammals, have 4 limbs.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I loved about that movie Avatar, how they made 6-limbed creatures, as if things evolved a little differently on that planet. I thought that was kind of an interesting way of...
I didn't even notice they had 6 limbs, because every mother I've ever met said they need 2 extra arms and hands, especially if they have more than one child, you know,
Move
with
to
cars.
Pandora.
They had 6.
Yeah, and have 4 breasts, right?
Or what about our prehensile tail that we don't have anymore? But we do have a remnant of it. The coccyx, right, is like our little tail down on our tailbone. And then I've seen where people have been born with prehensile tails, humans.
Yeah,
Just kind of a little tail out their back.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So that would have been our 5th limb that we lost along the way. For like hanging out of a tree, maybe? The 5th limb?
I don't know.
Ask a monkey. They spend a lot of time in trees. They know what their 5th their tail does.
Don't ask Curious George. He won't have any idea anymore.
Yeah, someone stole it. The Mandela Effect stole the tail. Where did it put it, though? Because, you know, the Dash and Kit Kat went to Coca-Cola. Where is Curious George's tail? That's what I want to know.
It went to Mickey Mouse, right?
No. His got lost, too. He had one when he was Steamboat
Who's
Willie.
collecting the tails?
Somebody's collecting the tails.
Okay, so while we're on a lot, was that one word ever for you? Or has it always been 2
I always
words?
misspell it as a lot. And then spell check always tells me it's a lot. So where did I learn? I'm not a great speller anyway. Where did I learn it was 1 word? Do you spell it as 1 word too?
I know that when I was in college, recently as an adult, 2010, I would have to correct myself all the time. So if it changed, it was 2010, 2011, something like that, because I was surprised. I didn't know about the Mandela Effect yet, though.
Right.
So I wouldn't have thought, I just thought I misremembered it. I'm like, oh, that's
So you
weird.
used to spell it as 1 word too? A lot.
Oh, definitely. A lot. Yeah, I did it a lot.
Did it a lot. Oh boy, he did that a lot. And also dilemma. I had to learn how to say the word wrong in order to spell it correctly. I had to say it in my head, dilemma, to get the N in there. And I've met other people who are not Mandela affected who spell it with an N, even though now it's magically spelled only with M's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really.
And I've heard, and I don't know if this is a Mandela Effect or just I've noticed it more, but undoubtedly being pronounced undoubtedly.
Well, I've heard the English say undoubtedly, but I think that was like in some silly movie.
Oh.
So I don't know. I would say undoubtedly.
Right? The B silent?
Undoubtedly. Yeah. Yeah.
Doubt. Having the B at the end, which is kind of weird. What if that? Oh gosh, keep an eye on that. That might.
Well, also the evolution of language, because we'd be saying, "I hurt my knee today," when I stabbed it with a knife.
Right.
You know, so it's like language evolves, spontaneous evolution of animals and plants. Maybe this is proof the Mandela Effect has been around forever.
Yeah.
You know, just changing and shifting things always.
Yeah, other people are remembering a lot as well. I mean, that looks so right to me. Even
so
now
right,
that
it's 1 word.
Yeah.
Not as in a lot of apples, but as he did that a lot. She did that a lot.
Yeah, you'd break it up if it was an actual lot, but if you're saying many as a synonym for many, then
but
it
do you
would
say
be...
often or do you say often with a T? Often or often?
Gosh. I say often, I think. Yeah.
Me too. And that's a very English thing. I spent over 20 years in England, so that messed with a lot of my language because they pronounce things differently, like herbs. I call them herbs here, and everybody laughs because it's herbs.
Right.
Right. But why? Why drop the H? The H is there for a reason.
Or the H.
The H in England, the H's, dropping the H's.
Drinking tea and dropping it out of all the words like written.
Butter. I used to be
Butter.
able to do a good East London accent. You just drop the T out of everything. Later. So you go
See you
later.
later.
Yeah, see you later. No T's.
But they drink it, which is cool. Morning
Yes.
tea.
Yes. And I
Yeah,
hear
I
it's
heard a
really good
comedian
for you
say that.
too. I hear it's better for you than coffee, but I can't give up my coffee. But I hear black tea is really good for the heart. But
Got a lot of caffeine in it.
only a little caffeine.
Yeah, I need a lot of caffeine.
Yeah, I know. Me too. We're up
It's
too
my
late. I'll
fuel.
get a text from you at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, what are you doing up? Like, what are you doing up?
Yeah, but it's only 2 for me, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, I'm still a night owl. I wasn't a night owl when my daughter needed to be transported to school every morning at 8 and then at 7. That changed my tune. But now that she's independent and working, I'm back to my night owling.
Yeah, I just have to get up and take them if they miss the bus or it's a cold or rainy day or something. But I normally
You do it on
sleep
like three
through it.
hours of sleep. I
I,
hear there's a reason we're up at the nighttime because creative people like
yeah.
the silence of the night. All those little brains are sleeping. All
Hmm.
the mouths are still. All the TVs hopefully are off. And you've got that time at night where the air is clear and clean. And that's where I do all my writing. That's when I'm like, writing till
Yeah.
4, maybe.
Yeah, it is a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's very clear
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, it's usually a good time because it's quiet, but like in the summertime, all of my kids are like me.
They're
So
all up
we're all
late.
up all night.
Oh my
It's
God.
like we're asleep all day together and then we're up all night. And it's like you kind of expect to go out, you're kind of creeping around the house. You're like, wait a minute, why am I
A
being
house of
quiet?
night
Everyone's
owls
awake,
instead of early birds. Nothing against being an early bird. It's just not my in my nature,
Right? Yeah.
And I do see people's videos and they're up with the crack of dawn and they're filming sunrise and I'm like, when's the last time I saw a sunrise? How many years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I wonder if Kate's still here. I didn't want her to miss this because Dad
Hey,
GPK
Kate.
sent us a picture. I'm gonna let me share
Show
my
Dad's
screen so you
pictures
can.
now.
Yeah, there's like just 3 of them, but they're beautiful, and it kind of relates with the picture Kate sent with the
The sun dogs last week.
yeah. Let me share.
Is Dad in the room?
Uh, I'm not sure if he's here or not. Let me go
He will
full
be
screen here.
lurking if he's not in the chat. I see the
Okay.
orange. I see the orange there. A little tip of orange like hers. Yeah, from last week. Or is that hers? That's not hers.
No, but it doesn't look like an orb like the other one. I
The
mean,
other one
it's
was more orby,
yeah. See this? You can almost see it as a transition from yellow to red with
but
orange
it's
in the
very
middle.
orange colored like hers
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
right?
definitely, yeah.
And there's the sun. So you're looking at a sun dog far away from the sun,
At
orange,
9 o'clock, yeah.
at 9 in the morning.
Well, I mean 9 o'clock, the 9 o'clock position from the sun.
Gotcha. So is that
Like there might.
sunrise, do you think, or sunset? Probably
Mm,
doesn't matter.
yeah, it doesn't have the time
Doesn't matter.
stamp on it. Okay, let me go to. Okay, I guess this is a close up of it. I can
Yeah.
definitely see the roundedness
So it's like
of it.
what would cause that? What would in a sky full of clouds, very gray, overcast, what would cause an orange blip of light far away from the sun?
Right, this whole sundog thing is new to me, and I feel like it
Yeah.
might have something to do with the makeup of the clouds now. That maybe they're artificial or whatever. But at the same time,
You would expect to
is
see
this?
that orange blip anywhere there's a hole in the clouds.
I imagine this is probably at a 40 degree. Depending on where this cloud actually is in relationship to the person taking the picture. But there we have probably maybe it's at 40 degrees or under or something.
Yeah, like they say, you can get a rainbow, like you said, by using a hose and standing
Yeah.
away from the sun with the sun behind you. But on Earth, you can only get the rainbow at 40 degrees above the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over that, you can't get a rainbow in the sky. It can be up to 40 degrees.
And this one is absolutely beautiful with the reds and
Yeah, look at that sky on
orange.
fire. I've been capturing some photographs of movies and cartoons that they're painting the sky crimson. Is that the right one? Like bright hot pink?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. and even more than that. And I think they're just getting us ready for a crimson sky.
I wonder if those are birds at the top. Let me zoom in on
Yeah, remember last time you
Oh, yeah.
found a UFO in Suso's photograph?
Yeah.
See, he was
Yeah,
like,
he's
"Whoa,
flipping out.
over there."
That's absolutely beautiful.
That is,
And see, you can see this is what I notice a lot of now, these ridges. And you'll notice that you might see some here, some here, some here, and they'll all line up. It's like, and what that tells me is there's some kind of standing wave pattern. I don't know what's creating the standing wave pattern. I mean, you can actually see it right here as well.
I've noticed some big standing wave patterns too, where the
Here we
white
go.
cloud just ripples all across
Yeah,
the sky in the same pattern.
here we go again. So
That
what is
ties
creating?
in with our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe. Great time for a plug,
Mm-hmm.
where Vanessa VA really goes into the Schumann effect, the Schumann resonance, going
Mm-hmm.
up because the magnetosphere is getting thinner. So if the magnetosphere is getting thinner, it stands to reason that whatever's out there, so look at that. Look at that pattern.
I know, that's crazy.
Cosmic rays, solar rays, plasma, universal energy, that whatever's out there seems to be coming, getting closer to the earth because our magnetosphere is thin.
And it's just the fact that, so that could be an effect of the Schumann, because if it's gotten to the point where
Yep.
it's able to affect the,
The
well,
cloud.
you know how when you've got cymatics and the sand on the
Yeah, yeah.
scale, and when it hits certain frequencies, then that's when the patterns begin to emerge.
Yep.
So it could be something along those lines for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's really does show changes to the atmosphere from, like, I mean, I'm going to be 59, so my childhood atmosphere looked nothing like that.
Oh yeah.
Just blue sky, yellow sun, and white fluffy clouds that were usually in kind of a roundish pattern or oval.
Okay, coming back to you there.
I'm talking about
Yeah, matter of fact, they
60s and 70s.
Yeah, matter of fact, they have. It wasn't too long ago that they started introducing some of these to. Oh, you saw it, Kate, already? Okay, good.
Cool. Thank you
Uh,
for those, dead GPK.
yeah, thank you. And check out his channel. Dead GPK has his own channel, and he puts up great pictures and videos and stuff. So, the classifications of clouds have they keep
They changed.
adding. Oh yeah, they're adding to the classifications of clouds. So there's definitely new types of clouds, or why would they add new ones then, right?
I always wonder if that's tied to HARP, but I don't think they're really using HARP. But then when I first looked up HARP, like in the 90s or the early 2000s, there were only two of them, one in Florida and one in Alaska. And now if you look it up, if you Google search, Googly Monster search HARP, there's like dozens of them all over the planet. Do they turn them
Hmm.
on? Because that would create waves, because that's based on Tesla plasma,
Yeah,
where you use magnetism, or isn't that increased really strong magnetic waves?
exactly. Yeah, and it was supposed to push the ionosphere
And
outward from like,
change weather patterns. So they're
yeah.
supposed to remove rain where there's too much rain, and they're supposed to push rain where there isn't enough. But if you look at what we're actually experiencing, we're still experiencing floods and droughts. So either it's not working, or they're not using it, or they're using it for something else.
And I don't know. I think there's enough evidence to show that they could be doing things from satellites as well.
Sure.
You know?
I know they always show, again, get that tinfoil hat out. They show like laser beams coming down, right? With laser
Yeah,
fires and stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
But we
So I
know
don't
that's
know.
real because I've seen the video where they tested it out for the army, and they
Hmm.
would like hit tanks and jeeps.
Hmm.
And that was pretty powerful laser
Oh
weaponry
yeah.
they were testing out. So it's not just
And they've got it on the
fiction.
ground. I mean, you can actually go and look videos up like that and see them, burning off a plane's wing and making it crash, and as a
As a
defense.
test.
Yeah.
And the one I find interesting too is the sound weaponry that they've supposedly developed, but we don't know much about it, where they can play like a hertz. that can play a band of sound that will literally make everybody fall to the ground.
Yeah, vomit or make them nauseous or have a headache, and
Kind of like what
depending
happened
on
in
the.
Cuba, right? They say that's what happened to Cuba in a hotel when all the American delegates were staying there. A bunch of Americans got hit with some kind of a sound wave.
Mm. Now, though, no, the ones that they use on, because they'll use them on cruise ships and stuff like that. So if they see like a pirate ship approaching, it's sort of a non-combative way of,
Ah,
they just blast sound at them and they want to turn around right away because they don't want to make it
interesting.
worse. So it's sort of a defensive mechanism that doesn't have to harm anyone. So, or crowd control is another one. You
It'd
know.
just be nice if these technologies didn't come about before the authorities' ethical developments occurred. It's like the technology outstrips the ethics of the people who are wielding it. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if the ethics went at the same pace as the technology so that it was only used in the absolute necessity and for the good of all concerned.
And then they don't turn around and use it in other situations where they might be able to reduce the loss of life, you know. So,
Yeah, it's really interesting. But you were talking about it last night. All of this might be part of the big plan. All of this might be going according to procedure. What we're going through now might be part of our path as a collective. Instead of looking at, oh my God, we've screwed everything up here and we're so bad here and everybody's terrible here, you might just look at it that this is part of our journey to becoming better
oh,
as
that's
a
totally
collective.
how I think
Yeah,
of it.
me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
exciting. It's an exciting time. And, and everybody's viewpoints valid. Back to the Pac-Man thing. You could totally
Yep.
be the
Yep.
Pac-Man and feel like you're caught in this maze, this reincarnation cycle. Like
Prison
every time the
planet.
ghosts get
Yep.
me,
Yep.
I come back in and I'm stuck in this maze again. The ghosts are after me. They're evil, and that's totally a valid view. But you can take a step back and say it's a game.
I came here. I chose to come here
Yeah,
for whatever reason. There's
yeah,
some people in videos going, don't go to the light. If you go to the light, you will be recycled and reincarnated. And it's like, having had a death experience, I can tell you, you have no control at that point. If your life force is cut, you are just going with the flow, and you're doing what nature dictates. You're not going,
yeah.
should I go left into darkness or right into light? There's no choice.
It reminds me of A Bug's Life when he was going towards the bug zapping light, and you're like, "Don't go towards the light." And he's like, I
Don't go.
can't help it.
Oh my God, yes. And my thoughts are drawn to the light. That's just too funny. Too funny. That's why I also don't really believe that poor human souls are trapped here and that some person can walk around and go to the light, and there they go. Now the soul is no longer trapped because it went to the light because somebody told it to, you know?
Right? Yeah. But it's for people that believe that, it's a valid point. I mean,
Yeah.
what they're thinking is all true. That they die, they get recycled, and but you could think that about the Pac-Man. If you're a Pac-Man, you're like, every time I die, every time a ghost gets me, I have to start over again, and I'm trapped in this thing. But that's like serving its purpose. That's the game engine, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Clee Irwin was talking about how the matrix is self-programming.
Yeah,
And he's talking about, is it the molecule 8 that he's using, like the infinity sign? It's something like that. The way this eighth molecule they've discovered organizes life, whether it's a crystal or a plant or an organism like an animal. I'm including humans in that scenario as an animal. And it's like it's got its program and it's programming itself. So you have free will only so far, right?
right.
And I don't want to limit us in any way because we can change the world and change our life, and it's all based on our thoughts and our feelings. But we're dealing with a heck of a lot of programming in our DNA
Oh
that
yeah.
we're working with or against. You're either working with it or against it. And if we can figure out how to work with it and push it in the right direction instead of working against it, that would really help.
I think the higher self. I think when it comes to creating your own reality and doing all that, it's you in accordance with your higher self. So
It is
I
if you
don't.
meditate. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, you get a lot of downloads during the day if you just practice meditating. They don't always come when I'm meditating. I could be driving and suddenly driving becomes like a meditation because I'm getting something. Have you
yeah.
noticed that?
Oh yeah, or just thinking deeply, and that's really a meditative state too. Like I was talking last night about, I was looking at the super consciousness transcripts and just pondering the information in there, and that's when I got the word synergy, like out of
Yep.
nowhere. That kind of went
Synergistic.
with, yeah, which kind of went with what Todd was saying
Yep.
about the one and the two, and then the three, and it's like, oh man, that's like totally. That was one of the synchronicities with the whole thing,
Yep.
and I didn't know that word. I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know what it meant until I looked it up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then it's easier to trust that information when you don't know what it is, and you get it
Yeah,
and you
it's
look it
almost
up, and
easier to
yeah, it's
trust it when you don't know what
right.
it is. It's like oh, that's interesting,
It
instead
didn't
of
come
going,
from me.
yeah, exactly. Although
Yeah,
maybe it did. It could have come from your higher self.
right. Well, I mean, just me here, 3D me here on
3D
Earth.
me
Yeah, I totally feel like it came from my higher self.
versus 5D me.
Right. Yeah, it's being
Well,
in tune, or it could be your subconscious. Maybe you looked it up in high school, and
yeah, it
somewhere in
could
the
be your
back of your mind.
subconscious,
Yeah.
or it could be your super consciousness.
Right.
That part that's tapped into the God particle
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Akashic records that knows
Yeah.
everything. Well, does anybody have any meditation ideas for tonight?
Have we done? We've done one with a better connection with our higher self before, haven't we?
We have, but it's always nice to repeat things. It's not like we repeat them very often.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even to be more specific about, to do activities that will promote, you know, just intuitively know if it's, we don't even have to get into the specifics of it, but to have that better connection and to do things that promote that connection more. I don't know. Let
And
me see
so
if,
instead of just having the connection when we're meditating, to have the connection 24/7, whether
oh,
we are
yeah.
meditating or not.
Yeah. Just to be reminded, because I mean, think about it. A lot of the times we just forget, we just get so wrapped up in stuff. That's why I've sort of started to use things that are seemingly negative to remind me to take those conscious breaths and reconnect in the moment and center myself. So if I get triggered for some reason,
Yep, we're all
because
triggerable.
yeah, we all get triggered. As long as we're here on Earth, it's going to happen from
Yeah,
time to
for
time.
sure. Maybe even
Yeah,
the next level up, we might get triggered. That might still have duality.
you never know.
You never know until you get there.
Yeah, like in the session, it's observed but not experienced. You know.
Yeah, it might take, we might not be actually jumping into a completely peaceful, no duality existence from here. We might have a little more duality along the way, but in a different way.
Yeah, I don't think you're completely. I don't think it's completely like just nothing but bliss until you return to source. Is what I think. I think it's like classrooms. There'll be other lessons to
The
learn. That's how the
steps
law of one
between
teaches
here
too.
and bliss, the steps between here and heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah, or Shambhala, Nirvana, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
Oneness with God.
that's
Oh, who
interesting.
was describing it? Somebody was describing, I listened to too much stuff, and now I can't remember who was describing it this way, that this self-programming matrix that we're in, I think it was Klee, could be the mind of God. The mind of God, I'm not talking brains, because those are the receivers, right, of information, but the mind of God, of which we are one of God's thought forms, each and every one of us, and as a collective, we are one of God's dreams or visions or thoughts, that the mind of God does not necessarily have to have a beginning or an end. It could be the omega that doesn't have to have a big bang and then a contraction into nothingness, that doesn't have to cycle. If the matrix is self-programming at all times, it could be the mind of God. And I was like, oh my God, that answers so many contradictions that I come across when I'm thinking matrix, simulation, God, and not having a way to put all those three things together into one holographic soup. And
Right.
I think he was the one saying it. But I've been listening to a lot of Hindu stuff too, and they're very much about the dreaming. Brahma, it's either Brahma or Vishnu. One of those gods was dreaming and outsprang the universe while he was
Mm-hmm.
asleep.
We're like the thought of God,
The thought of God,
dreaming a dream.
the vision of
Yeah.
God, the dream of God. It doesn't make us any less real. I mean, heck, if we are like, say, we were in a big computer game and God was the computer,
And he was a teenager in his basement. I'm
Yeah,
just playing.
exactly. Programming and playing all night long, right? That doesn't
Let's send
make
a
our
hurricane.
feelings any less real.
No, it
If we
doesn't.
are those characters, we're feeling what we feel, we're doing what we do. Does that make us less real than, if we were bricks and mortars outside of the computer? I don't
Right.
know.
Exactly. So I don't know. What do you think of that? The higher self connection
Yeah,
happening
24
rampantly?
7 at all times, whether we're aware of it or not.
Or as often as possible, even. Yeah,
Yeah,
24/7 would be awesome.
in our sleep to be
Yeah.
teaching and leading us in ways unexpected during the day. Yeah, that would be fun. Are you guys okay with that?
And that would help keep us in the moment because in the now is when that connection happens,
Yes,
Not,
God is in the now, and
not
your
when you're
higher
worried about
self
the
is in the
future. And
now.
yeah,
It's not in
well,
the past and it's not in the future. Both of those are dreams. The past is usually a misinterpreted memory of what really happened. Nobody's perfect, right? And the future is just some expectation that hasn't happened yet. So
right.
both are as nebula, just they're like air. They're
Yeah,
just
and
like air.
we thought the past. We used to think the past was solid and it
We
can't be
did.
changed, but now we know that's not true.
Now we know,
We can,
thanks to people like Lynn McTaggart and Cynthia Sue Larson, that we can change the past.
yeah, and Nelson Mandela
Yes. Thank you, Nelson.
for giving us the name for the Mandela effect.
He
Anyway,
was my first Mandela effect too in 1995. It really freaked me out. So I
okay,
definitely
yeah, people are
accept that
saying
name.
yes, they're digging it.
Okay, so we're digging our higher selves, guys.
Thank you, Dad. I don't know if you were in here earlier.
You did
Uh,
GPK and
Thanks for the
Kate,
pictures,
Sarah,
and Kate.
and everybody else. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, yeah. Thanks everybody. How's that?
How many people are going to do the meditation? How many do we have?
We have 64.
Yay! Which is a
64.
1. 6 and a 4 is a 1, which is the power of 1. Very powerful number,
Wow, I
guys.
love that.
Really nice. I know we
Actually, isn't
always
it
get up to around
divisible
6.
by what is that? Divisible by 8?
I don't do
What's 8
math like
times
that.
8?
I'm in the simple category of
8
6
times 8
plus
is
4.
64, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, 8 times 4
So
is
going back to
32.
Lynn's power of 8, which is how we all started.
Wow, we got the double eights. We
We
got
do,
the
and we got the
the
1.
Lions
We got the
Gate. They
power of
call.
the 1.
Wow, that's awesome.
And what's today's date? February 8th. Today's
8th.
February 8th. So we got 3 eights
We
going.
got 2 8. 2 8 is 2 8s. We have 64. Which somebody's gonna have to leave. I'm just playing with the 65.
Don't leave. Don't listen to him. No,
No,
I'm
I'm
just
just
kidding.
kidding. No, I think Todd did that on purpose. He goes, "No, don't forget about the 1," and he joined from a different device.
Is Todd in the room?
Yeah, he was.
Hey,
Thank you,
Todd.
Todd. Thank you for the information. So yeah, we were creating this unit
I
of
enjoyed the
66
math
with the
last night. That was
65.
fun. And I'll listen to the rest tomorrow, and I'll get to Feisty Kitty tomorrow with my coffee. Okay, guys. Going in. Okay, so everybody get nice and comfy. However, you like to hold a position for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you can relax. You can kind of sit into it, lean back, relax, and let your muscles go. So let's start with a nice, deep, relaxing breath in and hold it and exhale. And as you exhale, let any tension go if there is any in the body. Take a deeper breath in, really extend the abdomen, the lower lungs, and exhale that back out with any stress. If you had any stress today or in the last week. And finally, take a nice, deep, relaxing breath in, hold it, and exhale fully, relaxing all of your muscles as you do. And we're going to start the heart maths breathing with breathing in through your heart and exhaling through your heart. Do it gently and don't really force it. Do it at a pace that's comfortable for you. And this time, go ahead and breathe in love. Let it fill your body. And exhale forgiveness. And then breathe in forgiveness. Fill up your body. And exhale love. And we're just going to do that. We're going to alternate forgiveness and love, filling up our body, our emotions, our mind, our spirit as we do so. And on the exhale, we're actually filling up our room, our home, the environment with love and forgiveness. And if you like, send down a grounding cord now from your root chakra. It's a cord of light that goes down from the base of your spine all the way through the different layers of the building, the different layers of the earth. Let it go down quickly to the center of the earth where it just spreads out in all directions. And as you're breathing in love and exhaling forgiveness, you can also breathe in a specific color that you intuitively feel will help your physical body in some way, any color, possibly even the whole rainbow. And exhale that color back out into your environment. And now we're going to spiritually hold hands, and we're going to imagine being in a beautiful place in nature. Really take some time now to see it and to hear it. You can even smell it if there's leaves or ocean breeze. Even snow has a certain kind of crisp smell to it. Feel it. What's the temperature? What does it look like? How does it sound? As long as it's natural and peaceful and safe. And now we're going to all intend together that we in this group and everybody who hears this in all directions of time, as well as all of humanity, because we're connected as the power of one to the human superconsciousness and the human subconsciousness. And we're going to imagine for ourselves and our group and all of humanity that we create a continuous, continual connection to our source. So that's going to be imagining a connection between ourselves here in the now and our higher self, wherever that may be. The higher self that guides us and also protects us by helping us along the way to make those bigger decisions and the little decisions that help us in our daily interactions with people, with animals, with the environment. And we're going to call in our higher self now that it is especially present at moments where there are physical, emotional, and mental signs of stress. So if we get triggered for any reason, we can, boom, make an instant connection to our higher self to get some guidance on how best to respond to anything for the good of all concerned. And we're really going to learn to trust the higher self and also recognize when our higher self is guiding us to do, say, or be in some way. For many of us, that might be through meditation, that we learn to connect with our higher selves. And for many of us, it might be through prayer. It might be through good works, acts of kindness that we're connecting. But what we're asking for tonight is that we keep that connection intact so that we can experience more of our higher self by drawing it down from source, right through our crown chakras. Let it go down through all the chakras and down the spine and down through your grounding cord so that we have a constant connection with higher self. And we'll just go quiet for 3 minutes as we imagine that. And now that we have individually and as a group connected more fully and in a long-term way to our higher selves, let's just allow that request to go out into our community and into our state and our province and into our country. Let it go out to cover the whole earth in any size or shape that you see that. And let's see all of humanity getting into contact with humanity's higher self or super consciousness and being directed with a constant connection to higher source. And let's see that now coming out of our leaders, out of our advisors, out of people in media, banking, all forms of government, healthcare, education. And let your grounding cord go and open your eyes.
We are back.
We are back. I popped back a few seconds early.
That's cool because I was totally thinking about expanding it, and then we come back from the moment of silence, and then you said I totally felt like we were connected that's been one of those things that's been happening to me.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, where I feel like
energized, you said?
Yeah, I just feel like we are getting more connected with one another, and it's like we were both just like the request was that we be more tapped into that Christ consciousness that we're all tapped in, that creates that other, like Todd was saying, that other entity that we all are part of.
That we
oneness.
When we come together, we create
the power of one.
That new entity. I feel extremely peaceful and extremely relaxed. Really, it felt really good.
Yeah, I agree.
It felt really good. And I think we will, if we just remind ourselves from time to time to connect during the day when life
and
is
just
crazy.
think of the people around us, how much more that would do than anything that we could possibly tell them or convince them of, just for them to have a better connection with their higher self. I mean, that would solve so many problems.
So many problems. Yeah, instead of dealing with the problem at the result end of it, go back to the cause and deal with it through connection to higher self.
Totally.
Dealing with the problems that are created when our governments and leaders are not connected to source.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. I never thought of that. It's like cleaning it up at its source before it becomes a problem.
Right. Because all the problems come from our disconnect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like Todd was saying, forgetting the divine. It's forgotten in the numbers. And so
this is why Tibetans and Hindus say pray for your enemies, because it's to heal them so that they're no longer your enemy, because they no longer wish to do what they're doing.
Right.
You know, they need the prayers more than you do, basically.
Well, that was beautiful. I appreciate that. I could totally feel it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Now and in the future, in all directions of time, right?
That's
Can you imagine
right.
10 years from now, somebody bumping into this video and doing the meditation? It's like...
And they're doing it now.
They're doing it now.
Yeah.
Because of the circle. It was so cool when you and Todd were talking about the circle in 5D would look like a spiral. Because to me, that's like the slinky version of the universe. Because if you take that spiral and you squash it back down, you then condense time. Like, okay, say you pulled out the spiral, the slinky end to end, and it covered 6 feet. How long would it take for an ant to go from one end to the other? But if you condense that slinky back down into 2 inches, then how long does it take for an ant to move from one point to another? Depends
if you squashed them or not.
Yeah, don't squash the ant in between the spirals. But to me, that's like time travel. To me, that's like how everything's happening at once.
Yes, and I do want to say, while the Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio folks are here, Alan and Sandra, we had a wonderful time
tonight.
We are having them on the 13th, the day before. I didn't want to ask them to come on Valentine's Day. I mean, Twin Flames, that wouldn't be cool, right? But, and I know Friday's a busy day for them, so the day before Valentine's Day, we're going to have Alan and Sandra on
Wonderful.
again, and they have some awesome pictures. 5 weeks ago, I got to meet them in person and see a bunch of images, so I hope that they're willing to share them with you
Oh,
guys.
that's so cool.
A lot of cool anomalies that you can see that look like light bodies and angels and all
Oh,
sorts of
wow.
things. So I
That's
I
next
think
week.
it's,
You're going to have them on
yeah,
next week.
yeah, 6 days away, 5 days away. That's
Okay,
right.
Thursday, right?
Yep, in 5 days we're
Can't
gonna
wait.
have them here.
Fantastic.
It's gonna be cool because they got a lot of cool images and we get to see them. I mean, normally they're on the radio, so very
That would be
happy about
awesome.
that.
That's going to be cool.
And it's gonna be Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock here, 2 East Coast time. You're looking at 11 on the Pacific Coast
Okay, so
and 12 noon Mountain Time.
okay, on Thursday. Put it in your
Yeah,
calendars, guys.
yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
That's going to be fun.
And of course, you can always go to the website, uotf.net, and get the show times in your time zone. So
Cool.
that makes it way easy, and it shows the next 5 shows coming up. And you can sign up on the free forum and try
Yep.
to organize a get together in your area. There's so much to do there. So don't miss out on that. And thank you so much, Eileen,
Thank you,
as
Shane.
always.
Thank you,
Th-
everybody.
Thank you guys for being here and you guys
Loved it.
watching later.
Mwah. Peace.
Lots of love. Peace. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.